Today we're going to be reviewing proportional relationships. So fill this in with me in your gold packet. A rate is a ratio that relates two different quantities. So we see three different examples of that down below, like cost per pound, miles per hour, and feet per second. Remember that this line represents division. Whenever we actually do divide, we're finding the unit rate, which is a ratio with a quantity of 1 in our denominator. I'm going to put DEN to remind you of denominator. So for example, if we actually divide for that first one, we're going to get 0.875, which, since we want money, that would be about 88 cents per pound. For this one, if we divided 250 divided by 4, we'd get 62.5 miles per hour. And for the last one, 49 divided by 5 would give us 9.8 feet per second. A proportion relates to equal ratios. And that's where we started setting up things like our WKU. So down below that, a proportion can be used to find a missing quantity. Here we have miles and hours, so we related two things together here, miles and hours. And we have 432 miles over 6 hours, and we're trying to relate it to 8 hours. So this is where we can use our cross products to solve. So remember, we're going to multiply the two that are together, which is 432 times by 8, and then we're going to divide it by 6, because remember, we're working backwards like an equation. So that is equal to 576. Okay, come over on this other part. We have similar figures, which, remember, is another way that we can use proportions. So I see corresponding sides. So corresponding, I'm going to abbreviate just for sake of my space, corresponding. And they have equal or equivalent angles. So the angles are going to be equal to each other. So in other words, this triangle has some matching sides. So it's flipped around, so you have to visualize it, how the 12 matches with the 7.2. And then let me swap a color here. The 6 and the 10 are also matching to each other, so they're equivalent. I also have matching angles, so I'll just give you an example of that. So an angle that would be matching would be like this angle would be equivalent to this angle. So that's an example there. Sometimes they don't give you numbers, and sometimes they give you letters instead, so don't be confused by that. We can also do some matching here. So we would say that D and J would match together. And we could say that G and A match together. What you're going to end up seeing sometimes is just the letters. So let me show you kind of what I mean by that in general. You might see something like this on the EOG. Trapezoid A, B, C, D is similar, that's what that little squiggle means, to G, H, I, and J. So that means that the order of the letters tells me what matches with what. Okay, continue to the next video to finish up this notes page.